Hush is an American psychological horror thriller directed by Mike Flanagan from a screenplay by Flanagan and Kate Siegel. This film is one of my main inspirations for my short film. Hush is a film about a deaf author called Maddie living in the middle of the woods surrounded by nature and no civilization for miles. The film shows a girl called Sarah coming to visit her in the woods to return the author's book. She communicates with Maddie using sign language. This film uses lack of sound and music to give the audience an insight into the deaf author's head when her house is surrounded by a man in a mask who has killed Sarah and now wants to kill her. The man uses mouthing words and gestures as a way to communicate with her. The film follows Maddie as she thinks of strategies to outsmart him and save herself and her home, whilst trying to complete a book she currently has writer's block whilst writing. The film features lots of conventional stereotypes of thrillers by using dark lighting, a creepy location, and focusing on a male antagonist as the villain. However, this film still manages to put a new twist on a simple storyline by flipping some well-known stereotypes around. For example, instead of a male lead and hero, the woman is the protagonist, and although at a disadvantage, still manages to save herself against a fully grown man with a weapon. Also, having almost no sound and hardly any dialogue really creates a tense and creepy atmosphere, keeping the audience intrigued. The lack of dialogue really helps the audience to focus on the main characters and gives an insight into the way their minds work around this disadvantage and what they can do. The reason I really like this film and why I chose it as my main inspiration for my short film is because of the simplicity of it. The whole film is shot in one location and features a maximum of 4 characters, 2 of those being the antagonist and protagonist. The costumes are simple and there are not a huge amount of props used. The little dialogue and little sound add to the simplicity also. Even though a lot of elements for this film are missing and others are not played up as much as they could be in the film, it still gives a creepy, intense vibe, keeping the audience anticipated and intrigued, which is extremely successful considering the simpleness of the plot. I also really like the modern twist of this film and how they relate it currently using technology like iPhones, MacBooks, Skype, and messaging. This really relates to the audience and makes it feel a lot more realistic to them, as well as making it more suitable for our generation. The main reason I chose this film is because of the storyline. For my short film, I'll need a storyline that will fit into that time slot of 5 minutes and will be interesting enough to be watched, but not too much that it comes across as too quick or confusing. The simplicity of this full-length film is what intrigued me, as it's not very complex, and yet it still grabs and interests their target audience, which is what I want. I want minimum characters similar to Hush, since my film will only be 5 minutes. I don't have time to introduce new characters or lots of different characters. I want a main one I can put more effort into that will appeal to an audience and they can get to know them, rather than a lot of different people that are too much to take in within such a small time period.